this video, we are going to look at dstack.ai, which is a framework, a Python framework to create ML applications. So this is their documentation website, and you can see dstack is the easiest way of building data and ML applications. So in this video, we are going to create a loan prediction ML app, and I'll show you how to plot the data. So we are going to plot two uh, visualizations, and then we'll use the predicted and create a combo box from where we can choose, in this case only one value, and then when we click on apply, it's going to display the predictions, so whether the uh, loan should be approved or not. So this is the loan prediction ML app that we're going to look. So when you head to the documentation, I'm assuming that you have already installed dstack, and your dstack server is running. So the installation is pretty simple. You can follow this guide on the documentation, and you can get started. Okay, now let's look at the code part and understand how we can make this. So here I have my dstack app running, and to run my dstack server, I need to write dstack server start. And if you want to change the port number, you're going to say dash dash port 80 or 8081 or whatever port number that you want. Okay, so this is the command to start your server, dstack server. Okay, so let's look at the code. So first we are importing all the libraries that we're going to use. The first one being dstack as ds, and the another important one that we are going to use today is dstack.control, controls as ctrl. Okay, then after that we have two functions. With which we are going to get the data. So cache is what this is going to do is it's not going to load the data every time you run your application. It is going to take it from the cache. So this improves the speed if your data is large enough. Okay, so these are two simple Python functions with an annotation ds.cache. Pretty simple, right? So the next thing that we have is we have two more functions, which uh, which are the scatter plot and the bar plot. Inside this function, I'm getting the data that by calling the function that we have written above, and then I'm using the plotly. So plotly.express library to create my scatter plot. So I'm returning this scatter plot with an application income as my x-axis, loan amount as the y, and the color as education. So when you go over on your application, you have application income on the x, loan amount on the y, and your education as the category. So this is how it is. So this is how the plot looks like. Okay. So these are two again simple Python functions. So now how do we create this app that you see over here? So right now we just saw the Python syntax and the Python uh, functions and nothing related to dstack. So if you scroll down, so this is the main part of the dstack. So if you see, these are tabs that I've created. So these are three tabs that I've created, and each of the tab contains an application, which is a ds.app application. All right, and all these applications along with the tabs are placed on a frame, which is called a dstack frame. Okay, so for this particular bar plot, you can say this is a bar plot tab, this is a bar plot application, and it is placed on a dstack frame called as loan prediction. Okay, so let's see how we can do this. So I've created my two functions, and now I'm creating a frame. So to create a frame in dstack, you simply write dstack.frame and you give the title. So the loan prediction is written over here, which you see on the app here. Okay, the next thing that we need to have is these tabs. So three tabs or two tabs based on the functions that you have created. So we saw two functions right now, the scatter plot and the bar plot. Okay, so if you see on the 78 and 79 line, I'm adding these functions on the frame. So to add it, we just simply write frame.add, and inside the parameter, you have to uh, add the application. So as I said, this is an application and scatterplot is another application. So inside the ds.app application, you pass the name of the function. So if you remember, we have scatter handler and the bar handler as the name of the function, and we are going to pass that as the parameter to the ds.app, which is in turn a parameter to the frame.add function. Okay, so the parameters that I need to set here, the title will be scatter plot, which you see over here, and I want to insert this scatter plot as a tab, so that's why we say ds.tab. So it creates this tab with the name scatterplot onto a frame called as loan prediction. Okay, I'm calling my function also. So the same thing that we are doing it again for bar plot. So add it to a frame, and you're going to add an application to the frame, and that application will have a function called as the bar handler, which will be called as bar plot in the form of a tab. That's why we have ds.tab over here. So once that is done, you will get these two tabs over here. Once that is done, you have to push the frame to your dstack application. So to push it, you simply write the variable dot push. So you see the variable that I've created over here, and you push it. And when you print it, you will get the URL. So the URL is, let's look at the URL. So this is the URL. Okay. So when I click on this, this is going to open up. Okay. So that's how you create a simple plots and tabs using dstack. So now let's look at the machine learning part and the predicted tab that I've created over here, along with the this drop down. So this drop down in the stack is called a combo box, which comes in with the apply button. Okay, so let's look at that now. So I won't be talking about the machine learning part here much, but I'll focus more on the dstack part. So here, if you see, I'm getting my data, that is the training data. I'm separating my output column, then I'm getting my test data also, and you know doing some pre-processing. So I have some categorical variables on my data, on my data set, in my data set. So I'm just encoding it by a simple Python function called as get dummies. Okay, so when you're developing your own ML applications, there will be much more things that you need to take care of in terms of pre-processing. But in this video, we're not going to discuss everything related to machine learning. We'll focus more on dstack. Okay, so I'm encoding my test and my train data. Okay, and for this particular case, I'm using a random forest classifier to train my model. So I've encoded my training data, and I have my output in the y variable, and I'm just using sklearn random forest algorithm, and I'm fitting it to my variable on my training data set. Okay, so your model is trained. Now is the dstack comes into picture. So what you need to do is you need to push your model that you've created and trained on your dstack application. So to do that, you say ds.push, and the name of the variable, the name of the model that you want to see on your dstack application, and the variable which is training. Okay, so to see this on the application, you go on the ML models tab on the left. So if I click on this, so if you see, I've got random forest here as the model that I've just pushed. Okay, so you have pushed your trained model on the dstack application. Now what we need to do is we need to pull the model that we have pushed. So if you say ds.pull and pass this ds application, dstack random forest, you can pull your model from your dstack application. So when you click on this, it says now you're ready to use this data set, and you can use it like this. Okay, so this is the same thing that we are doing it here. Now my model, the random forest model is in the variable model. Okay, now we'll look at the combo box that I was talking about. Okay, so we need to create this combo box with the apply button. So to do that, I'll create So if you remember at the start, we used dstack.controls, imported that as control ctrl. So we're going to use that now. So you simply say ctrl dot combo box, and you have a parameter as data. Okay, in that you can pass a list. So for this particular application, I have only one that I wanted to show you, that is predict, but you can go ahead and add as many as you want, like accuracy or confusion matrix and other things. And once that is done, you can give a label that is predictions, and if you say require underscore apply equal to true, it is going to show you this particular button. Okay, so I've created my combo box with one drop down value that is called as predict. Okay, now we need to actually give the model that we have created some test data. So I've created a function that is called as get predicted, and in this particular function I'm calling the values variable that we have created here and saying that it is a combo box. Okay, and inside this function I'm actually using the predict function using the model, the random forest model that we have pulled from the dstack application. All right, then I'm doing converting it into data frame. I'm adding the loan IDs that you see here, let's these, and then I'm returning it. All right, so this is the predicted values that I'm returning it. Okay, so as I said, this is this is an application on this particular frame with one tab called as predicted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a ds.application app function and pass that function, which is the get predicted function that we created, and say please execute values equal to values as the control as the combo box here in this particular application, and store it in a variable called p underscore app. Right, so that's how this is accessed over here. Okay, so once you have created your app, now the next thing that we discussed earlier was adding this app onto your frame. So you can simply do that by frame.add, add the application, and the parameters will be predicted in the form of a tab, right? And then you get this. All right, and again we will push it and you get the URL, and you can see it over here. We have, so you can have a list. If you have a data set, you can actually get the unique values from a data set, and click on apply and do other maybe data visualizations that you can do. So there are multiple use cases that you can use this particular combo box for. Okay, so that's how you create a dstack ML application using Python only. So if you see, we are not using any HTML or front end language to do this, right? And it is running on a local host. So this is what I wanted to show you in this particular video. If you like a content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.